It is a quiet, heavy kind of frustration that usually hits late at night or during the early hours of a Monday morning. You look at your life, you look at your schedule, and you look at the sheer volume of effort you are pouring into your days, and yet, the needle barely seems to move. You are doing what you were told to do. You showed up early, you stayed late, you took on the extra responsibilities, and you navigated the complexities of your career with diligence. But when you look at your bank account or your overall sense of financial security, there is a disconnect. It feels as though you are running as fast as you can on a treadmill that is tilted slightly upward. You are exhausted, you are breathless, but you are still in the exact same room where you started. This sensation of being stuck is not just a financial problem, it is an emotional weight that begins to color every aspect of your life. It creates a sense of invisible friction, where every step forward feels twice as hard as it should be. You start to wonder if there is something fundamentally wrong with the way you view the world. Or worse, if the game itself is rigged in a way that you simply cannot win. This is the problem of the high-effort, low-progress cycle. It is a trap that catches the most disciplined and hard-working people because they believe that the solution to any problem is simply to apply more force. If the door won't open, they push harder. If the mountain is steep, they climb faster. But in the world of personal finance and long-term stability, force is often the least effective tool at your disposal. The reality is that your effort is likely being diffused across too many surfaces, or it is being neutralized by systemic leaks that you haven't yet identified. You are working for your money with an intensity that is unsustainable, while the money itself remains static, or worse, flows away from you through channels of convenience and societal expectation. This isn't about a lack of ambition. In fact, it is often your ambition that keeps you on the treadmill, because you are so focused on the next milestone that you haven't stopped to ask why the ground beneath you isn't firm. We have to address the quiet exhaustion of the modern worker who feels that despite their best intentions, they are drifting further away from peace. It is a state of being where you are busy but not productive, tired but not satisfied, and earning but not building. To move past this, we have to look deeply at the mechanics of your daily life and the psychological architecture that keeps you tethered to a cycle of perpetual motion without a rival. The most pervasive lie we have been told since childhood is that there is a direct, linear relationship between how hard you work and how much you have. We are conditioned to believe in a one-to-one ratio. More sweat equals more security, more hours equals more wealth. While this might be true at the very beginning of a career when you are trading raw labor for a starting wage, it becomes a dangerous fallacy as you move into the intermediate stages of your life. The misconception here is that the grind is a permanent requirement for success. We see people who are incredibly wealthy or deeply at peace, and we assume they must be working 10 times harder than we are. But the human capacity for work has a ceiling. You only have 24 hours in a day, and you only have a finite amount of cognitive and emotional energy. If your strategy for getting unstuck is simply to work harder, you will eventually hit a wall where you can no longer increase your input. This is where the feeling of being stuck becomes permanent, because you have maximized your effort but haven't changed your trajectory. Another common misconception is that earning more money will automatically solve the feeling of being trapped. We tell ourselves that if we just get that promotion or that new contract, the pressure will lift. However, without a fundamental shift in how that money is handled, a higher income often just leads to a more expensive treadmill. This is the phenomenon of lifestyle creeping up to meet your effort, leaving you with more responsibilities and more stress, but the same thin margin of error at the end of the month. You aren't stuck because you aren't working hard enough. You are likely stuck because you are relying on effort to do the job that should be handled by a system. We mistake activity for progress. We mistake a busy calendar for a growing net worth. We have been taught to value the doing so much that we have forgotten the positioning. Being stuck is often a sign that you are trying to outrun your own habits or trying to solve a structural problem with a behavioral bandage. You cannot work your way out of a hole if you are still digging at the bottom. The misconception is that the exit is above you and requires more climbing, when in reality, the exit is behind you and requires you to stop digging, turn around, and look at the tools you are holding. We need to stop glorifying the struggle and start questioning the direction of that struggle. If the effort isn't yielding a result that leads to more freedom, then that effort is being mismanaged. To move from a state of being stuck to a state of momentum, we have to adopt a few core mental frameworks that prioritize long-term efficiency over short-term intensity. The first framework is the concept of the frictionless gap. Most people focus entirely on the top line, how much is coming in, but financial peace is found in the widening of the gap between what you earn and what you require to live a fulfilling life. If your effort increases your income, but your lifestyle consumes that increase, your friction remains constant. You feel stuck because you are carrying a heavier load even as you get stronger. To break the cycle, you must learn to decouple your standard of living from your level of success. This doesn't mean living in deprivation. It means being intentional about where your energy flows. Think of your finances as a plumbing system. If there are leaks in the pipes, it doesn't matter how much water you pump into the system, the pressure will never build. You have to fix the leaks, the impulsive spending, the status-driven purchases, the lack of automation, before the volume of water matters. The second framework is the shift from active to passive systems. Hard work is an active system. It requires your presence to function. True financial stability comes from building passive systems that operate while you sleep. This isn't about get-rich-quick schemes. It's about the boring, slow work of building a portfolio of assets that grow independently of your labor. When you are stuck, it is usually because 100% of your progress depends on your daily output. The goal is to move that percentage down year by year until your labor is a choice rather than a requirement. The third framework is the compound nature of consistency. We often overstate what we can do in a month and understate what we can do in a decade. We get frustrated when 3 months of hard work doesn't change our lives, so we quit or change tactics. But wealth and peace are the results of unremarkable actions repeated over remarkable periods of time. Being stuck is often just the boring middle of a long-term plan. If you are doing the right things, saving, investing, and controlling your costs, but you still feel stuck, it may simply be that the compound interest hasn't reached the elbow of the curve yet. Understanding this allows you to stop looking for a new path and instead find the patience to stay on the right one. The final shift required to unstick your life is perhaps the most difficult. It is a shift in mindset from earning to owning. Most of us were raised with an earner mindset. We think in terms of salaries, hourly rates, and bonuses. We see our value through the lens of what someone else is willing to pay for our time. But earners are always vulnerable to the treadmill. Owners, on the other hand, think in terms of assets, time, and equity. An owner understands that their time is their most precious resource and that the ultimate goal of work is to buy back that time. When you feel stuck, it is a signal from your psyche that your current trade, your time for your current lifestyle, is no longer a fair deal. You are feeling the weight of the trade-off. To find peace, you must begin to see yourself as the manager of your own small economy rather than a cog in a larger one. This requires a profound level of self-honesty and a willingness to be unsuccessful by the world's standards for a period of time so that you can be truly free by your own. It means saying no to the things that provide the illusion of progress so you can say yes to the things that provide the reality of it. You have to be okay with a life that looks smaller on the outside if it feels larger on the inside. The conclusion to this journey of being stuck isn't a massive windfall or a sudden stroke of luck. It is the quiet realization that you have the power to change the rules of your own game. You can choose to stop sprinting. You can choose to lower your overhead. You can choose to prioritize the building of systems over the pursuit of more. There is a profound sense of relief that comes when you realize that the reason you were tired wasn't because you were weak, but because you were trying to do the impossible. You were trying to find peace through more labor, when peace is actually found through more clarity. As you move forward, remember that the goal isn't to never work hard again. The goal is to ensure that every ounce of your hard work is building a foundation that will eventually support you without you having to touch it. You are not stuck. You are just in the process of recalibrating. Take a breath, look at the systems you've built, and give yourself the permission to play the long game. The treadmill only wins if you stay on it until you drop. Step off, look at the machinery, and start building a path that actually leads somewhere.